Please welcome Rory Scholl.
Growing up, I was never very close to any of my family, so when I found a thing that brought me closer to my grandmother, I leapt at the opportunity to do it. She had just turned 90 and I turned 29, and we were moving her out of my parents' house into a nursing home outside of Dallas, Texas. And this was your typical crappy nursing home with art from the 70s and giant wooden tables with nicks in them where the wheelchairs kept slamming into them. And the garden was like 4 feet of grass with little plastic animals in positions you'd never find them in nature, like holding a teacup or something like that. Very depressing. And to top it all off, my grandmother didn't have her own room. She had to share a room with this bonkers 83-year-old woman named Grace. And they had a very strange relationship. Sometimes I'd come there and they'd be laughing and watching South Pacific together, and then I'd come back the following week and they'd be in tears yelling at each other over who owns whose knee pillow or something ridiculous like that. So one week I went there, my grandmother was over the moon. She was so happy because she had just played bingo and she won big. She got like a stuffed cat and a Reader's Digest from the previous year or something like that. She was very excited. She's like, it reminds me of Atlantic City. I'm like, very close. But she grew up in Pennsylvania and would go to Atlantic City a lot. And so I got the idea the following week when I visited her, I was going to bring some of these scratch-off lottery tickets. So I did that, and I brought 10 of them, and I set them up on her table, by the foot of her bed, like a poker dealer, and I'd like, who's gonna win big? She's like, I am. I was like, great. She'd scratch them off, and we had a great time. She's like, the only thing that would make this better if I had my drinky poos, It's like, okay, she liked to drink. The Scholl family likes to drink. So the following week, I brought the scratch-off lottery tickets. And I also brought those little airline bottles of Bacardi and a few little tiny bottles of wine, and all of a sudden it's Vegas in room 203. So we'd set it up on her bed again, and she'd scratch off, and it's like, you want another drink? She'd be like, hit me, just look at me with her little grandma face. And we did this for about a month, and it was a lot of fun. And so one day, I guess Grace was in a particularly foul mood, and she said we were being too loud, and she was going to tell the director. So I knew this about Grace. I knew she loved those little Werther's butterscotches, but she couldn't have them anymore because she didn't have any teeth. So I said, Grace, listen, if you let us do this, I'll bring you butterscotch pudding every time I visit. And that seemed to satiate her, which was great. So for about, 4 months actually, this went on, where on one side of the curtain, my grandmother and I were getting drunk and gambling, and on the other side, Grace was eating pudding and watching her programs. And it went on great for quite a while. So one day I got a call from my mom, and she said, hey, the whole family needs to meet at the nursing home tomorrow at noon. She didn't tell me why, so I got a little upset, a little nervous about what was happening. But I showed up the next day at noon, and I go into my grandmother's room, and she's there. My mom's there, my dad's there, my sister's there, and Miss Doherty is there, the director of the nursing home. And there's so many people in the room that the curtain won't slide shut, so inadvertently, Grace is in on the meeting as well. So I look around, I'm still not sure what's going on, until Miss Doherty picks up 2 empty little plastic bottles of Bacardi, and my heart fell into my shoes. She said, who's been bringing liquor into this nursing home? And I looked around, and I looked at my grandmother, and she looked like a 5th grader that just dropped the F-bomb or something. She's like, and I look at Grace, and Grace is looking at me, and I'm trying to send Grace a mental image, like just a message. I'm like, you better keep your pudding-filled, toothless mouth shut, old woman. Come on, all those pudding cups I gave her. So Miss Doherty asks again, she looks up the bottles, and she's like, who has been bringing liquor into this room? And I look at Grace, and Grace looks at me, and Grace looks at Mrs. Doherty, and my grandmother says, my grandson was doing it, he's forcing me to drink. Very unexpected from Evelyn. Wow. So there were just daggers that my parents were shooting at me. Grace stuck her tongue out at me. It was horrible. Then finding out at age 29 I was not allowed to visit my grandmother anymore without parental accompaniment. So I slinked out of the nursing home, and I went into my car, and I sat there and I was trying to figure out why she ratted me out. I wasn't even really that mad, I was just really upset. or concerned about her. You know, I was like, why? We had such a good thing going. And I guess I just figured that I only go there 90 minutes a week, and she has to live there, you know, 24/7 with people watching her every move and making sure she's doing the right stuff and everything. And I guess she was just trying to save herself, and I wasn't that angry anymore. So sitting in the car, I drank a little bottle of Bacardi. I scratched off the 5 lottery tickets I had brought to share with Grandma, but I won $2. So, thank you.